Hello Internet! Welcome back to the series where we take various Pokemon, some useless, some not so useless, some forgotten, and some just underused in general, and see if we can beat the game with them. The Pokemon we're going to use for this solo challenge run is Farfetch'd, the normal flying type Pokemon introduced in Generation 1. The rules for this challenge run are as follows. I can't use any other Pokemon other than Farfetch'd to complete every battle in the game. Any other Pokemon on my party is used for HMs only and will be left fainted so they can't be dragged into battle. I also won't be using any items in battle. No heals, no stat buffs, the only thing I'm allowed to do is hold items. To start this challenge, I modified the game using the Universal Randomizer software to substitute Farfetch'd in as our starter instead of Cyndaquil. That way our rival will have the Totodile line and we won't have any clear advantage over him. For time's sake, I'm going to cut to the chase and skip most of the basic trainer battles in the game as they don't really pose much of a threat and really just serve as a chance for my Farfetch'd to level up. The first semi-important battle of the game is against our rival who just stole a Totodile from Professor Elm's office. It's not really much of a challenge though, we just peck and scratch each other back and forth until he's defeated. After that's all over, we slap our rival with a clever name and move on with the game. Before hitting the first gym, we take an opportunity to power up at the Sprout Tower because our only attacking move is Peck, which is of course super effective against all of these Bellsprouts. We clear it out with no problem and allow ourselves to gain an advantage for the first fight. The first battle of the game is against the gym leader Faulkner, who uses the flying type Pokemon. His first Pokemon is a Pidgey level 7 and it's really easy to knock out, it goes down with 2 pecks. Next out comes Pidgeotto and he only survives 3 pecks. And easy as 1, 2, 3, we collect our first badge and the TM for Mudslap. Honestly, Faulkner is really underwhelming and I don't know why they made him so weak. Speaking of weak, after clearing out Team Rocket from the Slowpoke well, it's time to take on Bugsy for our second badge. Now his team is actually pretty weak as well because, well, our main attacking move is Peck, which is super effective against all of these bugs. With a single Peck, we take down Metapod, Kakuna, and even Scyther thanks to a critical hit. And we only sustain 2 damage from the entire fight. As we're moving right along, before we can head out of the city, Durka wants another battle with us. He's added a couple members to his team, but he's still not very threatening at all. Thanks to the Mudslap TM we got from Faulkner, we're nearly able to kill Ghastly in 1 hit, and he only responds by using a Spite, which of course means we're going to knock him out on the next turn. Next up is a Zubat, and I decide to use one of our newfound moves, Fury Attack, to see how much damage we can do. And thanks to it hitting 4 times, we're able to knock him out before he can confuse us. His last Pokemon, Crocodile, comes out, and I decide I'll use Fury Attack again to see if we can repeat the same good luck. Unfortunately, we don't. After seeing how tanky Crocodile is, I decide to use a Leer first and then go for some pecks. And this turned out to work really well. He dies in 2 more hits. As we make our way through the Petalburg Woods to challenge Whitney, we first make a stop to our good old pal, the Headbutt dude. And he's going to give us the TM02 for Headbutt. Headbutt is the perfect normal type move to substitute out for Fury Attack, as Fury Attack is pretty RNG based. And if you're wondering why I have a Psyduck and an Oddish, the Oddish is going to learn Cut for me, and Psyduck is going to learn Strength, Whirlpool, Surf, and Flash. You may be wondering why I need Flash, but you'll find out at the end of the video. By the time I fight all the trainers surrounding Goldenrod City, I realize that I can pick up the TM for return from this lady at the Goldenrod department store. Keep in mind, she'll only give you this TM if your Pokemon likes you enough. And since Farfetch'd is the only Pokemon I'm using in this challenge, it doesn't take it long before it likes me enough to get the TM. After replacing Headbutt with Return, we now have a pretty powerful moveset. Peck is our flying type move, Return is our normal move, Swords Dance will power us up, and Mudslap will help us deal with the types that are powerful against us. With those preparations out of the way, it's time to take on the gym leader Whitney, and she uses normal type Pokemon. Knowing that Miltank is going to come out next, and is notorious for using Rollout, which in this playthrough is going to be super effective against me, I take my opportunities to build up my power so that I can hopefully sweep the team. After using a couple of Swords Dances, we're ready to go to work on these fools. Because Swords Dance raises your attack by 2 stages, we're more than powerful enough after 2 of them to clear through the entire team. After Clefairy goes down in 1 hit, we one-shot the Miltank as well before it gets a chance to roll anywhere but out the door. Huh? Come on! Anyways, it's time for a real challenge. Our Farfetch'd hasn't even broken a sweat yet. Before we can take on Morty, we first have to clear out our rival from the burnt tower, and his team has actually gotten decently strong. Knowing that I'm going to rely on Mudslap for at least half of this fight, I take my opportunity to power it up with some Swords Dances before going for it. I want to make sure that I can one-hit the Pokemon I need to in order to not take damage from the Haunter's curse. After 2 Swords Dances, I figure it's time to go for it, and I know we can at least one-shot this Haunter. The next thing I need is for this Magnemite to get one-shotted, which luckily, thanks to our Swords Dance, it does. Next up is a little Zubat who's no match for our powered-up return, which is a good thing because I really didn't need to be confused by its Supersonic. Luckily, the same goes for Croconaw, who doesn't stand a chance against our 4-stage attack boost. After that easy fight, it's time to take on the gym leader Morty, and he uses the Ghost-type Pokemon. Now, I only have one move that can actually hurt these guys, and it's only got 20 power. I have no choice but to rely on Swords Dance to power me up, but I have to keep in mind that I'm going to take damage every turn from the curse the Ghastly will always put on me right away. After powering up with 3 Swords Dances, I consider myself strong enough to one-shot the whole team. And I'm right, but unfortunately the Gengar outspeeds me and puts me to sleep. And if you thought this means I'm going to lose, you'd be right. So I try it again, this time using 2 Swords Dance buffs, but still I get put to sleep and Dream Eaten to death. On the next fight, I give it a go with 1 Swords Dance buff, and I'm still tough enough to actually one-shot most of the team. After Hypnosis luckily misses, I'm able to hit him with a Mud Slap and drop his accuracy. At this point, he doesn't stand much of a chance, he misses another Hypnosis, and I'm able to slap him down. And after that Gengar's out of the way, the fight's pretty much over, as I can one-shot the last Haunter with no problem. And that's Morty out of the way. The first gym battle that we actually struggled with. A little bit. Next we head over to Olivine City, but of course before we can actually fight Jasmine, we gotta deal with the Lighthouse shenanigans. I should also mention that I love how this Pokemon that lives up here has more accessories in his house than most humans do in this game. He's got a dinner table complete with actual dinner on it, and a cup of coffee, and he's even got a bed. Game Freak logic OP. Next we hit up the pharmacist and grab the secret potion and move on with the gym. Now Chuck is a fighting type gym leader, so you know it's going to be no problem at all to deal with him. However, I will note here that I could have picked up Fly before this fight, but I actually kinda just derped and didn't do it. But as you'll see here, Peck is more than enough to actually deal with these Pokemon. They're really not that high a level, and my Dux is actually really strong at this point. 1 shot for Primeape will take him down, and just a simple 2 shot for Poliwrath. And just like that, we've collected yet another gym badge. Now it's time for the first real challenge of the playthrough. Farfetch'd may have made it this far without any trouble, but these steel types aren't going to be easy. My Mud Slap is super effective, but it's a very weak move and isn't going to do very much in the long run. Magnemites aren't that strong, and as long as he doesn't get a Thunder Wave off on me, he's going to go down in just 2 Mud Slaps. The second Magnemite doesn't go down so easy. It gets a Thunder Wave off on me and paralyzes me, but then also Thunderbolts me and nearly kills me from full health. And then by that time, Steelix is going to come out and finish me off without an issue. A couple fights later, I managed to make it to Steelix with full health, but I am still paralyzed. After his Iron Tail misses, I get to realize how little my Mud Slap does to him. Just look at that. I'm sure it goes without saying at this point that I have to develop a strategy if I want to get through this freaking beast. It was at this point that my derpy brain realized I have a Paralyzed Cure Berry. So, I give that to my Farfetch'd in order to try to help me get through the battle unparalyzed. But I also still need to build up some power throughout the fight with Swords Dance, or else I'm really still not in a good position. After thinking it through, I decide to base my decision making based on whether or not Magnemite hits me with Thunder Wave on the first try, which he does. In this instance, I'm only going to go for 1 Swords Dance and hope for the best. Hopefully when I get to Steelix, I'll be able to hit him hard enough with Mud Slap and lower his accuracy to where Iron Tail will miss pretty often and I can get the kill. She sends out the beast, and I realize Mud Slap still isn't doing crap even with 1 Swords Dance. So after lowering his accuracy and him missing, I decide to get cocky and go for another Swords Dance, but he whomps me on the next turn. Scared and shaking in my boots, I Mud Slap him again, hoping that he'll miss. Unfortunately he doesn't, and he leaves me with just 11 HP, and we knock him into Hyper Potion range. Before you know it, I'm dead again. After challenging her yet again, we finally start to get some good luck. We raise up our attack stats after lowering his accuracy, and he's actually missing for once. Now Mud Slap is doing a decent chunk of damage, and his accuracy is steady falling. With that in mind, he continues to miss Iron Tail over and over, and we get to whittle him down. Luckily we finish him off with a critical hit, and finally we've got this badge. And we didn't have to go crazy with the level grinding either. Before we can take on the next gym, we first have to go give Team Rocket the Woot Wop yet again, just like always. And so, yeah. After foiling the plans of a criminal organization with nothing more than a duck and a stick, we're finally able to challenge the next gym leader, Price. Now Price uses Ice-type Pokemon, which obviously means I'm at a type disadvantage here. Lucky for us, the gyms just don't scale very well in this game. We didn't even have to grind at all so far this playthrough, and we're still way higher level than these Pokemon. Even a super effective hit from Seal only does 10 damage to us. Granted, it was a low power Ice-type move, but still. We go ahead and power up with one Swords Dance, which we may not have even needed, but I got it to be sure, because the final Pokemon for this gym is decently tanky. Seal goes down in one hit from return, and then out comes the Dugong. It also dies one hit. Next up is the only Pokemon I was slightly worried about, the Piloswine. Or Piloswine. Or Piloswine. You get the point. Whatever you want to call it, or however you want to say it, it dies in one hit. And that we can all agree on. And with that, we defeated another gym leader, who's wearing shorts and a short sleeve shirt in an icy gym. Come on, Game Freak, can we at least make sense sometimes? Before we can claim ourselves another gym badge, we have to clear out Team Rocket from the hideout once again. But first, Durka wants to come through and see how strong we've gotten. Oh boy, he's in for a rude awakening. His first two Pokemon are going to go down in one hit with no problem, and then Haunter, well, he kills himself, like always. Sneasel's going to go down easily. Feraligatr survives with a shred and gets to bite us. However, it's really no worry here. We're just going to finish him off easily. And I will admit, though, that thing looks terrifying. The next gym battle is with the gym leader, Claire, the stuck-up, cocky dragon trainer who honestly turns out to be a joke. I mean, seriously, Game Freak, I know there's only like 2.5 dragon types in this game, but why did you even bother to give her 3 of the same Pokemon? At least give her like a Dragonite or something. I mean, the Kingdra is terrifying, don't get me wrong, and it actually gave me a little bit of trouble. And the only reason that happens is because it's lucky enough to get a critical hit on me, and the smoke screen it used on me actually made me miss. But as soon as I hit it, it just dies like the rest of them. Next, we head over to the Dragon's Den, so that we can prove ourselves worthy to get the badge from Claire. We give it a couple Heck Yas, a couple Oh Yas, and then we scat battle doo wop wop bamboozle our way out of there. And now it's time for the moment you've all been waiting for. Oh yeah! But before we can do that, we first have to make a pit stop at the radio tower so that we can grab the pink bow to give to our Farfetch'd. This is going to power up our normal type moves if you didn't know, so it's going to come in a lot of handy for return. Before we can even get to the Elite Four, our rival Durka wants to battle again, so we'll have to give him the Biddly Bop. We one-shot basically everything except the Magneton, but we reduce his accuracy and the Thunder Wave misses. Preceding that, we just hit him with another Mud Slap and take him out of the game. And then comes out the Golbat one-shot, and the Haunter does what it always does, and kills itself. Then of course Kadabra dies, no defenses, and Feraligatr actually goes down in one shot this time. Now here we go, the juicy stuff. It's time to face the Elite Four. Now for this first fight, I was trying to decide whether or not to power up with Swords Dance, but I remembered that this Xatu loves to use Confuse Ray, and if it gets that off on me, it's really just going to make this battle annoying. So I go for a return and we manage to take it out in one shot, and that got me pretty hopeful. The next member, Jinx, goes down in one shot, but the next one, Slowbro, actually survives with a little bit of health and goes for a curse. I decide to take this opportunity to build up my power since I haven't taken any damage yet, and I go for a Swords Dance. After taking a Psychic like a champ, we finish off the Slowbro no problem. The next thing to come out is another Xatu, but we've been powered up from Swords Dance and it doesn't stand a chance. Final Pokemon for his team is Exeggutor, but we thought ahead and got the Swords Dance off, so we're going to be strong enough to kill it in one hit. And that's the first Elite Four member handled. The second member of the Elite Four is Koga, the Poison type user. The first member of the team, Ariados, really doesn't scare me at all, so I go ahead and take the opportunity to power up with Swords Dance. As I suspected, it's just going to use Double Team and really not hurt me at all. At this point, I was forced to eat my words because my first attack misses and it goes for a Giga Drain. Lucky for me, it's not very effective and it's going to do like 5 damage. On the next turn, we get to hit him and we squash him like the bug he is. The next Pokemon to come out is Fortress, and this thing really gives me a run for my money. It starts using Protect every time I go for a fly, so I realize that's not going to work, as if I didn't learn that from my last playthrough of this game with Dig. So I try to hit it with a Mud Slap to get some neutral damage and lower its accuracy, but then I remember the other move it knows is Swift, which always hits. It gets a critical hit on me, and I start going for some returns. I actually realized at this point that I do a big chunk of damage, and I'm ready to kill it on this turn, but for some reason I chose to boost up with Swords Dance, and it explodes me. On the next fight, the first move I go for is a Swords Dance. Considering it used spikes as its first move last time, I was hoping it would do it again this time, which it does, and that allows me to get strong enough to take it down in one hit with Return. Now that I've gotten the chance to get 2 Swords Dance off, I'm not going to have any problem one-hitting everything left on the team. However, the Crobat does outspeed me and goes for a double team, which actually forces me to miss the first turn. Next it goes for a wing attack, and it does a little bit of damage, but it's really nothing to worry about. After that, I finally hit my return, and I'm able to knock it out in one shot, as I suspected. With Crobat out of the way, all we have to do is one-shot the Venomoth, and we win the fight. And that's the second member of the Elite Four defeated. Next up is the Fighting type Elite Four member Bruno, who also has an Onix for some reason. I'm not really worried about this first Pokemon Hitmontop too much, as its only attacking moves are Quick Attack and Dig, which Dig doesn't affect me and Quick Attack isn't going to do much damage. So with that in mind, I take this opportunity to build up my Swords Dances so that I won't have too much trouble with the rest of the team. After getting 2 Swords Dances off and building up my power, I go for a Fly, but then I remember Hitmontop knows the move Detect, which is not going to allow me to actually use a 2-turn move. So keeping that in mind, and also realizing that Quick Attack is just not doing anything to me, I go for a 3rd Swords Dance just to make sure I'm strong enough to clean everyone up, because I'm going to need to use Mud Slap on the Onix. Now that we've gone Super Saiyan mode, it's time to start one-hitting these Mons. After one-hitting Hitmontop, the Onix comes out, and the Mud Slap, even after 3 Swords Dances, still isn't good enough to one-hit him. But all he does is whip up a Sandstorm, which is going to hurt us every turn, but if we can one-shot everything else, it's not going to be too big of an issue. At least that's what I thought. After finishing off the Onix, we use Fly on Hitmonchan, but at this point I'm taking 2 turns of damage from the Sandstorm, as it can hit you while you're in the air, so I'm forced to use Return to one-hit the rest of the team, and it actually works out fine. And with that, we've defeated Bruno, the 3rd member. Now it's time to get into some shenanigans with Karin, the 4th and final member of the Elite Four, and she uses the Dark-type Pokemon. My strategy going into this fight is to build up with my Swords Dance on Umbreon because it's really not that threatening of an attacking Pokemon. However, I did underestimate it because it Sand Attacks me to lower my accuracy and confuses me with Confuse Ray. And as you'll see here, when I hit myself with Confusion after the Swords Dances, it does a lot of damage. I actually end up taking myself out in this fight. With my newfound knowledge, I decide to get less greedy and only go for 1 Swords Dance to start. But his Sand Attack does miss me, so I figure I might as well go for another one. But of course, wouldn't you know, he hits me with the Confuse Ray, and now we're in the same position as last time. After killing ourselves once again, we try the fight one more time, and this time we're really gonna only use 1 Swords Dance. Luckily the Sand Attack fails again, but this time I'm not falling for it. I go for the Return and take it out to get that freaking thing out of the picture. Next, we're reunited with our good old pal Gengar, and with our powered up Swords Dance Mud Slap, we actually almost kill him in one hit. And then in true Gengar Haunter line fashion, he kills himself. And I don't know why he always does that. Next comes a Murkrow, who's going to die to an easy Return, followed by a Houndoom, who will do the same. And then to switch it up, we go for a Fly on Vileplume and one-shot it. And with that, there's only one more fight in the Elite Four. The champion, Lance. Before we can challenge Lance though, we need to modify our moveset a little bit, so we use the Iron Tail TM we got from Jasmine to teach Duck's Iron Tail. And we replace Mud Slap as it's not going to be very useful from here on out. With our newfound abilities, it's time to take on the champion Lance. Its Gyarados usually goes for a Rain Dance as its first move, so I take this opportunity to power up with Swords Dance. After that, I even go for one more because I want to make sure that I'm strong enough to kill the Pokemon I need to in one turn. However, Gyarados does get a Hyper Beam off on me, which does a decent chunk, but if my strategy works out, I'm not going to need that much health anyway. After that, I go for yet another Swords Dance since he has to cool down on the next turn, and I do outspeed it. So now with a total of 3 Swords Dance under our belt, we're able to take it out with one shot from return. The next Pokemon, Dragonite, is pretty scary because it can one-shot me with Thunder with no problem, especially from this HP. But with the power of our Swords Dances, we're able to kill him in one shot with Return. The next Dragonite goes out just as easy, but now it's time to deal with the real issue here, the Aerodactyl. This thing is the whole reason I taught my Farfetch'd Iron Tail in the first place. We need to make sure we hit this thing and kill it because, well, Rock Slide is going to be super effective against me. I wasn't entirely prepared for it to outspeed me, so that definitely caught me off guard. Thankfully, we do land the Iron Tail, and it's enough to take it out, especially with its high power and 3 Swords Dances built up. Not to mention, it is super effective. With no HP left, we go for a return on Charizard, hoping we outspeed it, which we do, and that's going to easily take it out. The next and final Pokemon for the team is a level 50 Dragonite. Luckily, that's not going to make too much of a difference. Return and 3 Swords Dances equals death for basically anything. And when that thing goes down, we are now the champion of the Johto region, with just a Farfetch'd and not a single item in battle. But our Farfetch'd still isn't done yet. There's one more battle with one more trainer who is far stronger than anything we've faced yet. So let's get to it. Now if you've played any Generation 2 game before, or you've seen my other Dunsparce challenge run video, you'll know that the gym leaders in the Kanto region are not that tough. However, we have to go over here and beat all of them in order to get to this final battle. So I'm going to cut most of these battles out, in fact all of them except for one, because all I do is one hit all the Pokemon and pretty much collect the badges to move on with the game. The one gym fight of this region that I feel like is worth making it into this video is the leader Blue. He's the 8th and final gym badge you need to collect in the Kanto region, and his levels are actually pretty high. The first Pokemon, Pidgeot, isn't too big of a threat, so I used Swords Dance to power up. However, it also Swords Dances thanks to Mirror Move, so I go ahead and decide to take it out right away. The next Pokemon is Rhydon, which is pretty terrifying, but our Iron Tail is going to come in handy here as well, and we'll one-shot it. Next up is a really frightening Alakazam, but it surprisingly doesn't outspeed me, and I'm able to knock it out in one shot. The following Pokemon is a Gyarados, but we're just too strong at this point. We're one-shotting all these Pokemon, no problem. The next Pokemon, Arcanine, doesn't go for an extreme speed and allows us to hit it first and knock it out with return. Next, for a change of pace, we go for a fly on the final Pokemon, Exeggutor. And we take it out with a critical hit, and with that, Blue is defeated and there's only one thing left to do. It's time to challenge the ultimate trainer. Without any hesitation or any power leveling, we go straight to Red and we challenge him. To start the fight, I go for a Swords Dance like I always do. Pikachu responds with a Charm, so we pretty much negate each other's moves. Next I go for another one, but he hits me with a Thunder, which is going to pretty much eliminate me, not to mention I got paralyzed. Pikachu misses his next attack and we kill him with return, but I'm sure it goes without saying that we're definitely going to die this fight. I try the battle a few more times this level, but I can't really get further than the Espeon without getting whomped to death because he outspeeds me. I boost myself up to level 75 and then give it another shot, but unfortunately, the Espeon still is faster than me and it's going to kill me with a Psychic pretty much every time. Ultimately, I come to the conclusion that I can't take any damage from Pikachu if I want to win this fight. The first move he goes for is Charm and it fails, so I get a free boost with Swords Dance. Next he goes for a Thunder and misses, allowing me to go for the return and kill him without taking any damage. This is the key fight that I really needed. Next up is the Blastoise, who we're always faster than and will kill in one hit as long as we're not paralyzed from the Pikachu. Next up is the Espeon, and nothing's changed here. He still outspeeds me, but now I get to see how much damage Psychic truly does. And it's a buttload. But after surviving it, we're able to take him down with a return, no problem. Next out comes the Beefy Fritos Burrito Snorlax, who I actually forgot about until I seen him, and then I was kinda worried because, well, he's a freaking wall. But luckily, our Swords Dance has powered us up enough to actually one-shot it, which was unbelievable to me. Next up is a Charizard, and that's gonna be easy to... He outspeeds me. Come on, you gotta survive this, Ducks. You gotta survive this. Oh no! After surviving by the skin of our beak, we're actually able to kill it in one shot. Thank goodness. After those nail-biting events, all we have left to deal with is a Venusaur. We fly up high into the sky, it takes in some sunlight, but now it's going to die. And with that thing out of the way, we have beaten the strongest trainer in the game, Red. And the credits roll. Guys, we beat the entire game and the final battle with just a Farfetch'd and no items, and we didn't even have to get max level. What do you guys think about this video? Did you expect Farfetch'd to be so strong? I definitely didn't, but Swords Dance definitely came in the clutch and allowed us to carry through most of the game. Also, a quick honorable mention before I wrap this up, I want to give a shout out to GMH Games. I'm going to leave the link to his YouTube channel and his Twitter handles in my description and the pinned comment. I really would like you guys to go check him out. He made me a thumbnail for this video and it's much appreciated. Also guys, if you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it, I have a playlist where I'm compiling all of my challenge runs together, and I will always update it with the new challenges as they're released, so please check that out if you're interested. Lastly, but definitely not least, if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing because I do these types of videos often, and I also have some other type of content coming out soon. But anyways guys, with all that out of the way, thank you so much for watching, have a good life. Bye bye.